everyone. Welcome to another episode of GTV, Business Over Coffee. And today I'm really so honored to have this lady as my guest. She is one of my idols, no? And I think a lot of people in the startup industry look up to her. She is our mother hen, Miss Diane Eustaquio. Hi, Miss Diane. How are you?
Hi, Ginger. I'm also honored, actually. I know you're followed by many, and I'm really honored to be featured or be part of this daily. Yeah.
I know, I really try to create vlogs now, from Tuesdays to Fridays. And we discuss, as you all know, na, our viewers, sa mga nanonood sa atin today, you know that we talk about different topics. So the topic that I want to discuss with Miss Diana is really to give you an overview of what's happening in the tech startup industry in the Philippines. It's just possibly, no, it's just a small community right now. I think we have around 500 startups or more. I hope more at this current time. Maybe you can tell us, but before we go to the topic, Miss Diane, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, like your journey before you got to Ideaspace. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, your life, you can only really, that as Steve Jobs said, no, you can only connect the dots when you look back. So I'm not a successful entrepreneur, and maybe that's why I said, why am I in Ideaspace? But the thing that drove me is really my desire I think I was around 30, and I started to realize that I found so much happiness when I'm helping people. I enable people. So that's why I ended up being an executive assistant for a very long time. And many of my bosses would say, graduate ka na. I'll make you an employee relations manager. Ayoko pa. Sabi ko, my one boss said, I can give you a scholarship to New Zealand. Graduate ka na. I still enjoying my job, because what really drove me was I was so happy being an enabler and connecting people and kind of helping them look good. So if you're an EA and you're working with a top man in a company, you're the conduit to the boss, and my job was to always make people look good with the boss, or if they were not in a good situation, I always say, hey guys. So I guess I mastered that ability to tell people that if you're not doing good, you tell them nicely, but if you really have to just say it bluntly, you just say it bluntly. Then my entrepreneurial trials were all failures. So I guess it was all part of it, that, when you fail. I remember when my husband and I went to our biggest venture, was where we probably put together maybe close to 500,000 pesos at that time, in the 90s. So we lost with the business. We went bankrupt, and we didn't know so many things, and I cried for 2 days. I didn't want to go back to being an employee again. I was so embarrassed. What do I tell my friends, right? So looking back, I think all of those failures, all of the jobs that I had, the opportunities to meet so many people, it all kind of coalesced. And when Ideaspace came to as an opportunity for me, I thought of, maybe this normal career path in corporate. This is my chance to kind of try something different and take gamble. It was really a gamble. It was really a career gamble. But fortunately, and I'm still very I feel very lucky that up to now, Metro Pacific still backs me up. It's like their contribution to Ideaspace is they cover my salary. I probably didn't go up. I mean, in terms of financial gain, it's probably not very much, but I think on the emotional, the social gain, it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. I love it. I think the diversity of people I've met before Ideaspace it came into use. It was so useful because I didn't know that each time there was a new cohort of startups, they would have different needs. They would have to meet different people. So, you know, I should have it. I should have it here on by my side. It's a Rolodex. It's an
Oh.
old. I don't know if you know Rolodex.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in the olden days, you would have an address book. You have a black address book, and then it's a treasure because that's where you have all your contacts. And then it became Rolodex. So we insert the business cards of people, and it's all categorized according to how you categorize. So I think all my contacts on my Rolodex, they came into to use a lot of use. I didn't know that I would use everyone I knew, almost everyone I know, to help the startups as we went along. So
That's
it's
nice.
been wonderful. And me as I journey with the entrepreneurs and see the evolution of themselves, I myself, I'm also evolving. I realized that in the beginning, maybe I didn't need to worry about fundraising for Ideaspace. We just sent statements of account to to the companies, and then the companies in the MVP group contributed. So that gave us a great head start. And up to now, we're still living on that fund. But I know that I can't hold the begging bowl forever. So now here I am. I said, gosh, I have to get tips from the startups. How do you do fundraising? How do you, how do I package myself? How do I tell the story of Ideaspace? So I'm now in the shoes of the startups, and I'm starting to realize, gosh, it's a reverse, and I'm learning from the startups what we thought we were sharing or like helping them with. So it's been wonderful.
Well, you know what, Miss Diane,
Sorry.
you've been doing such an amazing job, no? Like supporting us startups. So for people who don't know, Taxumo was actually part of batch 4 of Ideaspace. So I think let's take it a step backwards, no. So Miss Diane, maybe for people who don't know what Ideaspace is, maybe you could pitch it to them as well in this vlog. Yeah.
Yeah, Ideaspace is actually a brainchild, and it's something that has been in the mind of our chairman, Mr. Manuel Pangilinan, for many, many years. And then my former boss, also his name is Edward Tortorisi. For many years, they were angel investing, and you know they handle big companies. So all these angel investments that they had probably didn't work out because they didn't get the entrepreneurs didn't get the guidance. So after about a decade of sharing their angel experience, angel investor experience, they said we need to really put up this incubator. So in 2011, since I was executive assistant of Mr. Tortorisi, in that year and the year previous to that, 2010, 2011, the Metro Pacific, First Pacific were hiring people from abroad. They were hiring Filipinos to come back, or Filipinos who had multinational, who developed their management and leadership experience in multinationals and bring them into the companies of First Pacific. So one young guy named Earl Valencia, and then another young guy from Deutsche, Martin Juan from Meralco, they got together and they pitched the idea to my boss, Ed Tortorisi. And then Ed said, well, this has been something that Manny and I have been wanting to do for a long time. So let's go pitch it to Manny. So the three of them went out to pitch it to Mr. Pangilinan. And then one thing led to another. We were brainstorming. It was a wonderful idea that we wanted to do. So the objective of Ideaspace is to help increase the number of entrepreneurs and technology entrepreneurs in the country. And Mr. Pangilinan had the inspiration from Silicon Valley, and Mr. Tortorisi coming from San Francisco and the proximity to Silicon Valley. They really wanted to bring that kind of can-do attitude, that collaborative culture. They wanted to bring that into the Philippines because, you know, business here was sort of like, you know, protectionist, and then us versus them. No, we don't build it together. We'll build it ourselves. So that was the objective, and we didn't. And at that time, we were Metro Pacific had bought Meralco in 2009, I think, or 2009, and then previous to that, they had bought the tollways, the hospitals. So to get into startups, we thought that if we do this as a for-profit company, we would be criticized because pati startups na rin pinapasukan nyo, no? So no, we said we'll set it up as a nonprofit. So Ideaspace is a nonprofit up to this very day, and whatever gains Ideaspace would have, it goes back to the fund that helps entrepreneurs. So it's never going to go back to the PLDT, Smart, or Meralco. But what is going to go back to PLDT, Meralco, and all these Metro Pacific, all these companies, is potentially the startups would have a commercial engagement with the company. So it's a way of introducing new technology or innovation. So innovation can happen kasi in many ways. So Ideaspace is just one venue for the MPIC, First Pacific group of companies, to introduce innovation into the group.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, you know, the one-liner of Ideaspace, we're a nonprofit supporting technology entrepreneurs, and we also wish that this would be a contribution to nation building.
So, Ms. Diane, how many startups from the beginning have you like incubated or accelerated?
91 is the count.
Wow, that's a lot.
91, yeah, quite a number. 91, but only 46 are active.
Okay.
As of count, yeah. But out of the 46, 32 of them are really, I guess you can say, doing well. Mm-hmm. And out of 32, last year alone, the gross revenue of all these 32 was something like 300, I think it's about 330 million pesos.
Okay.
Combined, yeah. In the first 6 years when we were counting, this is cumulative revenue at that time. The startups had made over 6 years, year after year, the cumulative revenue was something like 230 million lang. Over 6 years. But then in 2019 alone, just 1 year, among the active startups, it was already, it was a whopping 330 million. So it's starting to become a contributor to the Philippine economy. And now with COVID, it's I think this is the golden age for startups because the digitization and the digitalization of the Philippines, it's happening. It's accelerating it.
maybe tell us more about Ms. Diane. Maybe tell us more about the changes that you've seen. You mentioned that the cumulative revenue before was around 200 plus million. Now, just for last year, it was 300 million. So, what changed? Like with that span of time from 2018 to 2019, like what was the change? What were the changes that you've seen in the industry?
So, in the beginning, we were copycatting. I mean, a lot of Philippine startups were copycatting in the early days, maybe 9, 10 years ago. Very few tech companies really were quite successful. So a lot were copycatting and they were following the B2C model. But until some time when people realized that the reliable revenue was in B2B market. Um, and then on the other side, so the corporations, the existing businesses realized also they needed to take this digital transformation. And startups had the offer that, hey, we have a service that will automate your manual process or will digitize your manual process. And then the companies also realized um, that they cannot build it themselves. So I think that was the change. That was the transformation when a lot of companies before would say, no, we'll build it on our own. No, we can't trust other people. Or a lot of times, I mean, in the MVP group or for specific group, I'd hear it. We present a startup and then somebody in the management team would tell the big boss and say, boss, kaya natin yan. We can build that on our own. So they would copy what the startups are doing, which is in the beginning our big challenge. Startups would not trust Ideaspace because they'll say, oh, Voyager is going to copy it. Oh, PLDT is going to copy it. And we had our own share of challenges then. But then the big companies realized, I think about 3 years ago, not too long ago,
Yeah.
about 3 years ago, that they really need to embrace and work with startups. So slowly they're realizing, oh, to work with startups, we have to ease up on the accreditation process because most startups, like say PLDT, if you're not a 10 million peso revenue company, they don't want to do business with you. It's only because, credit line and then the payment process, and then it's also a sign of stability, diba, for a company. So we understand also from the corporate perspective. So I think that was the big change prior to COVID. The big change was that the two sides of the market, the corporates understood how to work with startups, and the startups also understood how to build also products that really address a pain point.
Yeah.
Instead of just copycat, oh, this is the Uber of this, or we're the, before, I remember people would say, oh, we're the Uber of like this and like that. We're the Airbnb of this and that. So if you listen now to most startups, they don't use that description anymore. So they are able to articulate the pain point. So I think in terms of the entrepreneur, the technology entrepreneur ecosystem, there's a maturity. At the same time, the existing businesses, brick and mortar businesses, big businesses have learned how to work with startups. So COVID, the pandemic is I think a blessing because it forced a lot of businesses to go online, and they appreciated, oh yeah, I can watch my factory at my fingertips. So many business owners said, oh, okay, I can see what's happening on the shop floor. Or gosh, my retail business is not, I mean, all my inventory is manual, it's on the shelf. I don't know how much I have on my inventory. So the existing businesses have a great hunger for the digital solution. So I think it's a wonderful time. It's a terrible time in the world. It's not good, but then I think it's really a great opportunity for the Philippine startups.
So, Miss Diane, like I think right now, no, you mentioned that this is a time where people see opportunities. So, for people who are watching who'd like to build a startup, di ba, we have this thing that ang nagdadala talaga ng business are the founders, no?
Yeah.
And you mentioned
Mhm.
that most of the success, you have like 30 plus or 40 plus successful entrepreneurs already or founder businesses, sorry, startups in your program. Do you see like similarities, and what are the similarities of these successful ones? Maybe you could share with the people.
Yeah. Four things. Four things. One is a good team. Actually, a good team who is aware of who they are. So on individual level, it's a self-aware founder, but they also have to understand that it's a self-aware team. So they know their individual weaknesses, but they also know their team weaknesses. So when you know your startup's weakness, you know who to partner with to make, to achieve success. So understanding yourself, I also believe that if you don't know your strengths and weakness, you wouldn't be able to craft a credible financial plan. So people say, what? That's like a behavioral connected to financial. Yeah, because kung hindi ka magpakatotoo na hindi ka magaling, kunyari, sa HR, why will, you should put it into your financial plan that you probably will have to acquire a people person. Diba? Or you'd have to get a co-founder who's good at a people person. How, if you don't know anybody who's a good people person, how do you get that person? Do you hire or do you offer shares? Kasi you hire, may pera ka ba pang bayad, diba? So a lot of it is, it's self-awareness, knowing what you can do and what you can't do will also determine how your ability to do a good financial plan. So one, a good team who knows themselves. Second is a team who understands their customer. They're obsessed. They have to be obsessed with their customer. They understand the customer's journey. Not obsessed with the customer to sell the product. It's to understand why they would need a product that would solve their pain point. Actually, the pain point, yeah, the painkiller, we say you build a painkiller that isn't just a painkiller like other painkillers. You build morphine. Build the morphine because, yeah, you have to, build the morphine because even if your tech is clunky, your product is clunky, they'll buy it pa rin. They'll be willing to try it. Yeah. So the third is a team that can build the product themselves. So in the beginning, it would be good that they can build the product themselves because they wouldn't know how much it would cost. We used to give 500,000 pesos. So $500,000, maybe it's not so much nowadays. And we even have cut down. But what we noticed, those who got a third party, like a dev house to build the tech, they burned all money so quickly. And then the startup closed down. But if they can build it themselves and understand the simple, like building from MVP and then what kind of infrastructure it would need as they go along, it makes them understand, oh, okay, financially, these are the resources we need. Human resources wise, this is the kind of skills you would need. So if they build the product themselves in the beginning, at least they know how it works. Last is a team who knows how to be a good steward of resources. So yeah, so people think, oh, that's just because you handle other people's money. But I'm a solo founder. I don't need to worry about that. I can do whatever I want. But excuse me, the resources are also coming from your own people. Your staff who work with you, who take a gamble, who take a risk in their career because you're working for your startup. They don't know you can fold up next week or next month, right? Or tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they gamble. And I think even solo founders have to be mindful of the stewardship of being this, their their teammates or the employees took a risk in their career to be with your startup. So acknowledging those resources, and then if there are teams that composed of co-founders, being a good steward of what your co-founder brings into the startup is important. And then if you have an investor, even more. So then also, as you go along the way, people mentor you, people connect you. You don't waste those resources, diba? So good stewards of resources. So 4 things: a good team, a team who understands their customer, a team who can build a product, and a team who are good stewards of resources.
Wow. So yeah, and it's a good list now for everyone who's listening and watching this. So in terms of uh choosing people who get into your program, Miss Diane, like how do you actually know like who to bring into the program based on like the
Yeah.
things that you have? Kasi wala pa naman talagang like, well, most of them naman have no like ideas or have concepts, but most of them also don't have the work already, no, like they haven't implemented anything yet. It's just like a concept. So how do you like gauge who to bring into the program?
Yeah, so Ideaspace, after several years, I realized we should have been called Founder Space. Because it's not about ideas. It's really about
Exactly.
all, diba? It's really about the team. And we're looking at certain qualities of the founder. So just like anything, there are layers, diba? So I say about team. So what about the team? A team that there are 5 layers that we look at. It's self-awareness, critical thinking, commitment, prudence, and gratitude.
Oh.
So we have on our third round of review, which is already an interview. That's what we look at. So first 2 rounds of review, it's about the idea, but then we're also starting to look into the team for the first round. But on the second round, we get industry experts to look at the ideas that the applications, and we already asked the industry experts, do you think this is a team that can build this idea? So it's really okay if you come in with everything, it's just pure idea, and then but it's you have to look into the team. Do they have the execution quotient? Do they have the commitment to do this? How do you gauge commitment? The startups just starting, you look at their past, you look at their views on commitment. So we have a rubric there. We so when we were interviewing you, that's what we were looking at. And over the years, it has continued. Our patterns of recognition have sharpened, have got more refined. So um, we're also very mindful of the community. So if we bring in this person into the Ideaspace community, can he or she contribute? That's why gratitude is a very big part also of our criteria, because we want founders helping other founders. It cannot just rest on the Ideaspace team. And if Ideaspace will close, I don't want it to happen, but if it could be a reality, and if it will close, I'm hoping that there will be a strong community that will be influential to the to the community. Say, for example, I think there was this bank called Bancom or so, something like that, in the 70s, 80s. And the bank's no longer existing, but many of the Bancom alumni are what do you call this, pillars of industry. So I think Mr. Pangilinan was one of them, and then they're a pretty solid group. And because they identify themselves with Bancom, they help each other even to this day. So that's how I envision Ideaspace in the future, that um, the founders help each other. So we're very mindful of who is brought into the community, because we don't want bad eggs. we
Yeah.
don't we don't want people who change the culture of founders helping other founders.
Yeah, that's so nice, no? Because I also watched this video of how Airbnb does it for their employees. And they also have like two sets of interviews, 2 to 3 sets of interviews. Yeah, maybe for technical skills, the first two, no? But the last interview is really for core values, no? Like, how do you keep the company intact, right? How do you, in terms of values, in terms of culture? So it's the same thing. It's good to know that Ideaspace has this thing, no? So this is also something that we do in Taxumo. No, it's very important for us to keep good people. And when we say good people, it's not about technical skills, because it's really something that you can teach and people can learn. But when it comes to values, iba eh, diba? I mean, you can't. That's something innate already, and it's something.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's something that you should look at as well. Okay, so
yeah.
talk about the investor landscape, Miss Diano, in the Philippines. Like, can you describe how it is now, or and also before the pandemic, or even way before, when you were still starting Ideaspace?
Um, it's still much to be desired. uh, um, Most of the angel for Ideaspace kasi, we're not venture capital organization. So the next step for the founders who graduate from our program will likely be invested in by an angel investor. So um, what has improved is that there are more angel investors. What has to be improved is how the angel investors look at the founders. There's still so much insecurity siguro, or maybe anxiety on their part. If they don't have major ownership, they they don't feel comfortable. So they take so much, but they have to understand that the journey in tech it's a long journey, and you will need an infusion of capital every now until some point na talagang tubong lugaw. I mean, talagang tubong lugaw. Is that the term? Tubong lugaw, right? You you
Yeah.
you the startups, until the product is very stable, you can make 70-80% markup, and wow, you cannot find that in a restaurant, you cannot find that in real estate. So they have to understand. So there's a lot of education that has to be done in the investment world. The What they have to be comfortable with, understanding how the tech is built. There are angel investors who say na, 6 months mo yan,
Mm.
built that for 6 months, tapos ngayon you have to tear down the code completely and start fresh. They freak out, like, it's like water under the bridge, but they don't realize that it's an investment in people. So that's one aspect. They have to understand the process of building tech. And then the other side is really that the importance of what they're doing, it's really an investment in people that they need to look at.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of angel investor education that has to be done. I'm glad there's more people interested, um, excited about it, but then they're still approaching it like maybe investing in a restaurant or a real estate business. I mean, Ideaspace made that same mistake in the beginning. We used to take 20% equity,
Mm-mm.
where we were wearing our corporate hats at that time. So to get a seat on the board, you need a significant ownership. But then we realized that oh gosh, if we get a seat on the board, and it doesn't mean anything for a company that's probably worth what, a few thousand pesos na lang. so so we veered away from that completely, until we found a sweet spot. On the other side, entrepreneurs also have to learn how to value their companies. So how to value their startups. So um, that's on Ideaspace side, to be able to kind of find ways to marry the investors and the startups is, the startups have to understand how they value their startup. And then the investors also have to understand, yeah, they have to understand valuation also. At the same time, also what it means to invest in a tech startup. It's different. It's not like you build a building and then you have the first floor. So
Yeah.
that's how I explain it to some investors. It's like you build the first floor and you just don't put a second floor right away, because sometimes the first floor's infrastructure, the reinforcement bars, the cement, it was only made for a first floor structure kasi yun lang ang abot ng resources mo at that time. Pero as you grow, you have more customers to cater to, you need to build a second or third floor, but your foundation is not so strong. So you have to tear down the foundation. So sometimes I explain it that basic because yun nga, most of them have been putting their money in traditional businesses. So teaching them about tech is it's fun actually.
That's actually an interesting analogy, no? So in terms of Miss Diane, in terms of like the investors from outside the country, no, what's your advice for startups who want to attract these kinds of investors?
We don't have the spotlight. The Philippines doesn't have the spotlight. The spotlight is on Vietnam, Indonesia.
Indonesia.
So yeah, so I think we should expose ourselves to what's happening in Vietnam and in Indonesia, so that we can be at par with the entrepreneurs in the region. Because the outside funds, they look at the region, and then they look within the region, does it make sense for me to spend time to review startups that I can invest in. So because of the number of entrepreneurs, they would look at Vietnam and Indonesia. There's not so much in other parts of Southeast Asia. But other parts of Southeast Asia, Malaysia has the advantage of government backing.
Yeah.
Singapore has the advantage of government backing. Thailand on their own, they're probably a lot more digitized than we are. And then the business community also understands it more. So a little bit more mature than the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Filipino tech entrepreneurs, I think we need to look out to see what we can learn from other entrepreneurs, be open, be mindful of our insular thinking. Because, we're an island country, and then we have to be, it's so much part of our culture na, talaga, can we really trust that person? Diba talaga, diba when somebody is introduced, ayoko kasi hindi ko kaibigan, wala akong kilalang, nobody in my network knows him. So you're afraid to partner with that person. And the root of that is we're an insular thinker. We think like island people. We don't want to trust people from another island, or from another tribe. So we need to be mindful of that when we're making decisions. We should try to push it, explore. Anyway, there are contracts naman eh. It can be written in black and white. They can get a lawyer naman to help you bring down the risks that you have in your mind. Um, and the investors say two things about Filipino entrepreneurs. They said the two weaknesses are understanding the market, like how much more can your startup grow, and what other areas can it go into. And then second is risk assessment.
Oh, okay.
So, siguro masyado tayong bahala na. Just,
That will come.
yeah, sige, bahala na, let's go in. Pero if, that's why self-awareness is a big part of Ideaspace, because nga, if you're aware of the risks.
Yeah.
You know danger you yourself can bring to your startup. You know what danger your co-founders can bring to your startup, or you know the danger that the environment has on your startup. So if you're aware, you know the risk, and then you know how to manage the risk. So yeah, and we work on those two areas when in developing the entrepreneur. Actually, we work on so many areas.
Yeah, but that's really interesting, no? And that's, I think those are the two areas where we can focus on also as like Philippine startups. So anything else, no? Any advice for potential or aspiring startups, Miss Diane, maybe to end this conversation?
I think it's to prepare. If a lot of people like me, long ago, I dreamt of being an entrepreneur, but I did not prepare. And I also see the same flaw in others, and they say, sige, bahala na, let's just go into the business, baka maswerte. But if you want to increase your chances of success, you need to prepare. So if most of your career you were an employee, you will look for that then. You will look for that security of having money. So prepare for that. Prepare at least 2 years na you have some money there. At least 2 years. Wag 6 months. Wag ano. If you only have 6 months, it's not enough. At least 2 years of savings, and also the lifestyle you will have to change. So mental preparation for it. And then you have to identify people who can probably be your partners as you go along the way. That is also preparation. Knowing yourself and knowing who you can partner with, or who would probably be a good partner. Trying things, you want to do it, like, let's try buy and sell lang together. So just let's see how we work together. And then just be ready. If it doesn't work, embrace the failure. Diba? Ginger, failure is it's a given. So knowing how to just accept the failure, and then introspecting. So that's why for us, critical thinking is an important part of being a good entrepreneur. So looking back and getting insights into who you are, and who your customers are, etc. So preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. So people just go into it, just dive. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you can dive, but I'm also concerned about the mental state of people. They go and do a startup and they sinugal nila lahat. Tapos happens, diba? You're so broken, your family's it's broke, your relationship's broken. And I'm concerned. I don't want a nation of people like that. I don't want to be a contributor. So for Ideaspace, we tell people the reality of doing a startup. We don't try to make it look like, hey, it's so sexy, do a startup, it's so cool. No, the reality is we don't want you broken. You're probably a better contributor to the national economy if you remain an executive, a corporate executive, or you remain an academic or you remain an employee, or mag-trial ka muna, you work for a startup na muna, but to paint the picture of uh, the sexiness of being a startup founder. No, the reality is you have to be ready to get beaten up,
Yeah.
beat in many from many angles.
Yeah, so that's so true, no? Like, especially at this point in time when a lot of businesses are really like scrambling, like trying to survive as well. So maybe for employees also have been laid off, no? I think that's one of the, that's why they're looking at these opportunities. Like, paano ba magtayo ng startup, diba? So this is not easy. Talagang
Yeah,
parang, this is not easy.
not
It's
easy.
a difficult journey. We're not saying this, siguro Miss Diane and me also, I'm not saying this to like dishearten you, to discourage you, know, from starting. But it's really, yeah, because you need to prepare. Tama yung sinasabi ni Miss Diane. You need to prepare for what's coming. You need to know that there will be bad days and really bad days. And then you have to overcome those days, diba? And those challenges. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
and siguro to add to the point of Miss Diane, that the idea space communities here, like founders like me, we're very open to help you out as well. So you can reach out to us, no? So you can PM us, you can look for us on social media, you can, yeah, just find us, no? So speaking of finding us, where can they find this space, Miss Diane?
Well, they can go to the Ideaspace website, and we're also active on Facebook. I don't check Twitter so much, but I know we do have Twitter account and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So they can go to all those social media accounts and connect to us. We try to be as responsive as possible. So Facebook is probably the fastest way to connect to Ideaspace. Email, you can just email hello@ideaspacefoundation.org. If you want to email me directly, it's diane@ideaspacefoundation.org. So, yeah, we would love to help as many, maybe, yeah, people whose businesses closed down, brick and mortar businesses closed down. You already have the foundation of being an entrepreneur. I think if you have bandwidth, if
Yeah.
you have moral fortune, if you have the strength, go into a digital business.
Yeah.
It's
So yeah, so we have the support of Ideaspace, diba? So, okay, so thank you, Miss Diane, for your time. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I'll put all of the links to what Miss Diane said in the show notes below. So thank you again for watching another episode of GTV. If you like this video, kindly like, share, subscribe, and click on the notification bell if you're on YouTube. So thank you so much, and bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.